Hello and welcome back to our series of conversations with the minds and makers behind Index San Francisco. The conference takes place February 20th to the 22nd at Moscone West. You can find more information about it at indexconf.com. I'm here today with Tomomi Imura. She's a creative technologist with Slack. Welcome.
Hi, and thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. So tell me about your role at Slack and what you do.
Okay, so, I call myself a creative technologist, but it's obviously not the real actual official title. So I'm a developer advocate here, and my primary responsibility is making it easier for developers to use the Slack platforms and APIs. So what I do is writing API docs, tutorials, and I do write some code. Like I code some demo apps to demonstrate how to build Slack apps. And occasionally I speak at conferences and do meetups and things like that too. Yeah.
Excellent. So in your work at Slack, what are you hearing from developers in terms of what their pain points are and what their priorities are, and what their what are you hearing?
So yeah, I can say two types of developers, and one is more like the one who's writing internal integrations. So basically making their work life easier within a company by writing their bots. So that can be some fun bots like coffee bot, or it could be something more serious like directly related to their works like bug tracking system and such. And another types of developers are actually working for the app and want to have the Slack app for everybody else to use. So it's not like internal use, they are creating for external. So obviously we hear more from the later type of developers who's creating apps because they have to work furthermore for the OAuth and have to, let's say, bond their accounts like OAuth. They have to deal with OAuth and their own OAuth, like Slack OAuth, and their login system and such. So that's really like a common thing I keep hearing is like how they can combine their own apps, the credentials and the other things with Slack. Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, Slack is such it's such a great company. You've been there for almost a year now, right? And so, what's your experience been like working on a technology that has become so ingrained and such a huge part of people's daily lives?
Interesting. So, I actually didn't really think that much of that way. But when we had a huge outage, it was like last Halloween. Oh my gosh, that was a massive deal, right? I saw on Twitter people complaining, especially that was around, it was about like later in the afternoon, almost evening in our time, like West Coast time here in San Francisco. So it wasn't as bad, but it turns out that was the time it's, the work just started in Japan, like 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock a.m. So when I saw the tweet especially from Japan and the Asia region, they were all complaining. It's like, wow, Slack is down, we can't work. And that was a time where like, wow, everybody relying on Slack so bad. So then I realized how huge the impact was. And obviously API was broken at the time too. So, well, not exactly me. Actually, to be honest, on that day I was sick, so I wasn't in the office, but apparently the customer service agents and everybody else is so busy. But
absolutely. Well, I mean, it is a good reminder of how important it's become for everybody, especially in the developer community. And you mentioned Japan, and you do some work in with a company in Tokyo, Code Chrysalis. So I wanted to ask you, do you find many parallels in the issues that developers are facing in different cultures? The developers in the US facing the same issues as developers in Japan, or are there different issues that they see?
So first of all, like language issue is a huge deal for the developer in Japan because the people don't speak English over there, and well, I was born and raised in Japan and moved in the US and later in life. So for me, it was actually really tough for me to, learn English as well. So it's kind of weird because I write a documentation for Slack, but I write everything in English, right? And I keep hearing from Japanese developers that when are you gonna write Japanese API docs? Because
Right.
well, I am able to write, but that's not what I'm here for. So this is something still to TBD here. But like language issue is a huge deal, and of course the gender balance in Japan, well, not just in Japan, like each regions and each culture is quite different. US is struggling, you know, it's a big deal here.
Right.
But I see it's worse in Japan. So the reason I decided to be an advisory role for the code chrysalis is because CTO of the company actually is a female, and she really wanted to encourage more women to actually get skilled and work out there. And Japan has a serious shortage in engineers in general too. So I thought it was a great time to have some school, and it's the same thing. I mean, I was saying that English is a big deal, but they are. So we decided to have the school teaching everything in English. So
Right.
teaching JavaScript and all that technology in English. So that was really the first in Japan. So that's going to be interesting. So we just started recently. So let's see how it goes. And I'm super excited. I want to see more female. Well, it doesn't have to be in a female. I actually want to see more engineers, professional engineers over there too,
Right.
you know, and do, understand English so they can communicate with the rest of the world better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so bringing it back to Index San Francisco, your session is titled Future of the Web
Mhm.
with Conversational Interface. What can people expect to get out of this session?
Okay, so my talk is going to be like a combination of a high-level illustration of conversational interface, also some sort of show and tell, like I'm going to demo just some real life example bots I have created with JavaScript and using some NLP, like natural language processing APIs. So it's not going to be entirely about Slack. Yeah, so I used to be working with W3C too. It's a like standard web standard body, and so I'm going to include some sort of web standard APIs too. Like actually, it's a speech APIs, so that has been proposed for browsers, and it's being supported by a few browsers already. So. For example, there's a speech synthesis API, which reads out the text with a voice from the browser. And another one, UR API, is a voice recognition API. So you can speak to the browser and it understand what you say and convert it into text. So I use some other APIs, third-party APIs, to create some sort of interesting bot within the browser too. So I'm going to demo what I wrote. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. And you can't see it right now, but right over here in my office is
Yeah.
my cat is having lunch right now.
Oh yeah.
And I read that you have one of your hobbies is combining technology with cats.
Uh-huh.
So I wanted to ask you, what's your latest venture in the technology and cat space?
Technology, yeah. So I haven't done a much of project these days, like recently, because I kind of busy with Slack. But the
Yeah.
last project I've done is with a Raspberry Pi,
Mhm.
because I love to hack around with the hardware as well. So I use a Raspberry Pi, the camera, and I used this open source software that detects cat face. So yeah, I know I feel like I'm joking, but the
No,
cat
it's great. It sounds awesome.
really is a thing, yeah. So every time, so it has a motion sensor too. So every time Raspberry Pi captured some motion, it triggers the camera and take pictures. Then the software analyzes if the cat is present in a photo.
Okay, I like it.
It saves in a server. So I set this Raspberry Pi camera by. Initially, I tried to put in cat litter. Yeah, but the place I put the cat litter, they didn't have a good lighting, so I decided to put by food. So I did
Okay.
just yeah, and also previously, well, actually, it was a long time ago, like 6 years ago ish. I created something called HTTP status cat.
Hmm.
So basically explain all the HTTP error code with cat.
Right.
And that became a massive hit. Like it got me like 10 minutes of like a fame on the internet. That
That's
was
awesome.
fun.
Great. Well, Tomomi, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I appreciate it. I'm
Thank
looking
you.
forward to your session at Index San Francisco. And for those of you watching, be sure to join us at Index February 20th to the 22nd. For more information and to register, it's indexconf.com. Tomomi, thanks again.
Thank you, and I'm excited to be there.
Awesome. We'll see you in San Francisco.
Yeah.